to INS, the International News Service, your source for the most important weird news from across the globe. With news analyst Kevin Harrison, actor, comedian, and musician Mike Wiebe, and professional commentator Brian Camp. INS, the news you need.
So what are you doing in Arkansas?
Well, I'm actually doing a little bit of research for the podcast. I'm out here on a fact-finding mission about gangsterism and cronyism and salt and mineral water.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of an anti-fluoride thing. Is that what you're doing?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, you know me, I'm big on the anti-F community, and
And then you can tell us about your adventures in the bathhouse now. I think we're ready to hear
Yes.
Oh, yeah. So I met this guy, and he told me about this thing. It's called "Can You Help Me Out?"
Mhm. Sure.
Yeah, we know you love helping.
Mhm.
And it was like a thing of like I helped him out, and he helped me out, and I feel better. Like I feel looser. I feel
Right. It's like getting a massage, right?
It's like
You know?
It's literally what it is just getting a massage.
Just a very specific massage. What could be wrong with that?
I haven't been to a bathhouse yet, but I have been to the Gangster Museum.
Oh.
There's a rich history of gangsterism here in Hot Springs, Arkansas, that maybe we're going to learn about at the end of the podcast.
A seedy underbelly,
and
if you will.
Once again, Mike with the teaser.
A seedy underbelly is actually very less seedy. It's really, in a lot of ways, it's the libertarian utopia I've always dreamed of. It's either that or the final stage of late stage capitalism.
Man, you just look really smart. You got a lot smarter looking when you said that. Thank you.
I thought you had glasses on for a minute when you said that. It was strange.
Mm-hmm.
I've got some killer memes that I got some killer memes that I'm gonna vocalize at the end of this episode.
Right.
Ooh.
But I am up here just having a little trip with the wife and the in-laws here at the Hot Springs, Arkansas, and it's pretty lovely out here. A little chilly today, but it's pretty nice place. There's a lake nearby. There's bathhouses nearby. There's old hotels. I bought a vinyl of the Planet of the Apes soundtrack, an original unopened
No way.
Jerry Goldsmith
Nice.
recording, gatefold of the Planet of the Apes soundtrack that I'm very
nice.
excited to listen to when I get home and scream lines from the movie that I don't think my wife's going to like so much.
Give us an example. Just,
Well, I mean scream, but my favorite line that I like to look at when Zira and Cornelius, Zira says, she's like at the end of the movie, Charlton Heston gets to shave. Zira, the ape, says, "You look so ridiculous. You look so ugly without a facial hair." And Charlton Heston goes, "On my planet, only the children grow their face hair out long." And I remember as a kid going like, "Oh, that's weird. Like children don't grow out face hair," but really, like, no, they do. It is kind of a little kid move in a lot of ways.
Are you saying that because you have facial hair grown out?
Yeah, because I'm young. I'm fucking kid. I'm a baby.
Mm-hmm.
They call me baby boy.
They call it
At the
face hair.
bathhouse. At the bathhouse, they call me baby boy.
Hey, baby boy, can you come help me out?
So
Yeah.
what does your wife
Sure
do when
thing.
you're at the bathhouse?
She waits in the car. No, she's
in constant denial.
She's getting her tarot read and
Ooh.
Reiki. A lot of Reiki. She's at the Reiki house. She's getting rolfed and raked.
Hey, was Planet of the Apes after Omega Man? Is that what it was called?
No, Omega Man, then Planet of the Apes. I mean,
Okay.
in a chronology, if they're all, in the CHU, the Charlton Heston universe.
In his lifetime.
Yeah, in his lifetime, they are. He made Planet of the Apes first, But in the
Oh, he did?
CHU, yeah, but in the CHU, it would definitely be, let me think, it would be Soylent Green, then the Omega Man, then Planet of the Apes.
I feel like he was cooler in the Omega Man than he was in Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
Like I would imagine that he was getting.
Yeah, he was a
because
bit
I think
more he was a bit more like right wingy in Planet of the Apes. Like he was kind of like, I hate this planet. I'm tired of everything.
He watches Woodstock in the Omega Man.
over and over, right?
Yeah, it's like his nightly entertainment.
That's weird that he was like the sci-fi star of his era.
Yeah,
Like those are all like the biggest of big budget sci-fi movies.
Well, I think because they didn't make biblical movies anymore. He did the biblical movies that were like the biggest of big budget movies, and they stopped making those, so he transitioned into sci-fi.
Well, and how did he? So this is the thing that
hey. Kinda, same difference. Ooh, mic drop. What about that? What about that? Did you ever think about that?
my mind is blown. I mean, you had me
Yep.
when you said late stage capitalism. I thought, well, here's a man of the intelligentsia. I admire his brilliance, and now I can see that you see the world in a way that Kevin and I can only hope to someday.
Yeah, I don't know. You can't see it because we're on Zoom. You can see my face, but I'm sitting on a tall stool with my feet don't touch the ground. They're kind of resting on the little mid legs of the stool.
Sure.
Right.
And I'm wearing a leather jacket. Not like a motorcycle jacket, but like a hipster leather cool jacket. I have a beret
Smoking
on.
jacket, yeah.
Smoking jacket. I have a beret on.
Your standard beret.
And I'm moving my face off screen to take drags of my cigarette. Religion and science fiction. Same difference if you ask me.
Deep.
Come back to my dorm room. I want to show you something. I need some help.
Right. You ever seen this video?
Yeah.
It's pretty disturbing.
I need you to help me out in my dorm room.
I was going to ask in the Omega Man, and this is something that I think y'all will be able to answer, is what I'm going to ask. He speeds around LA, right? In that, like, how much do you think it cost them? Because they did clear the streets for him to do that, right?
They shot that all on Christmas Day.
What? I mean, that would make sense.
All the driving
In a
around
weird way.
stuff?
No, I'm just making that up. Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question.
Well, that's how they shot
Night of the Comet.
Night of the Comet. They shot a lot of that on Christmas Day.
I didn't know that. I don't know much about movies, though. That's why you guys have to ask you guys questions.
I'm sure I bet they probably did like just shut down streets and stuff like that.
When you're dealing with a Charlton Heston, movie, money is no object.
Did they spend a lot of money on that movie?
I'm sure for the time they spent. This is a studio movie, so I'm sure they probably spent more money on him than anything else. But
Probably gray makeup. The gray makeup budget was probably
yeah
off the charts.
Well, it was a real big deal because he gets a big old Charlton, Mr. NRA has a big old sloppy kiss with a black lady. That's like a real big deal back then. That was like a pretty, like, people were pretty upset about that. They were like, I think that was like in the late 60s probably.
Oh, Mega Man?
Yeah.
There's no way that was 70s. Those cars are old.
71.
Really?
Well,
Right.
It was probably filmed in 67, though. They probably had to put it in the can.
Planet of the Apes. Yeah, probably had to put it in
Planet of the
cans.
Apes, I want to say, is 68.
Okay, well, I bet there were theaters in the South that were like, nah, we're not playing this.
Yeah. I have no doubt that happened.
Probably the same theaters that wouldn't show our gang shorts.
Probably not. Hey, I had an interesting our gang thought recently. Did you know that the male leader of the R gang is an alpha male? Alfalfa male?
Giving you a hit.
Alfalfa male?
Wasn't that like your biggest?
An alpha male?
I saw you tweet that. Wasn't that like your biggest tweet in like years?
Not years. In minutes, but
how is there not a product whose logo is just a silhouette of alfalfa and his hair sticking up?
Well, I do like the idea of Joe Rogan with he's got still bald, but he has just that one little cowlick sticking up.
Darla.
Ooh.
Little do you know he was going to get shot by a furniture dealer who killed him. Some guy in San Francisco.
An argument over a dog or something.
That's right.
Welcome to the International News Service. We're your hosts. I'm Kevin Harrison, along with...
I am Brian Camp.
I'm gangster Sicky Malone. Mike Wiebe. Coming to you from the hot springs of Arkansas.
So this week, we've got two news stories, an arts and culture story, and then Mike's got a news story in Get to Know Your Podcast.
Yep. Well, no, this is my Charles Kuralt. This is a Charles Kuralting.
Oh, Mike's got a new story for us in Tales from the Road.
Yeah.
On location.
Let's
turn our attention to.
And wouldn't you know it, his name was Sailor Man. And wouldn't you know it, he helped me out real good.
Wow, I'm on pins and needles.
Why is there a sailor in a landlocked state?
Well, his tattoos suggest that he's been on the sea for a long time.
I don't know what that innuendo means, but it's still funny.
Is that his insatiable appetite for help?
He said he needed help, and he said that only one person could help him clean his beard.
So our first story comes to us from Gizmodo.
Oh, I hear that's a magazine.
That's like a news and technology blog.
It's like a magazine.
It's
online.
It's like a little troll guy with a humpback.
Gizmodo.
I am Gizmodo. Let me help you, master.
Right.
Gizmodo.
Don't get him wet.
On June 26th of this year, a 65-year-old Japanese woman began corresponding over Instagram with a Russian cosmonaut who was on the International Space Station.
Yuri.
It doesn't say what his name is.
Oh, okay.
It was either Yuri or Boris. I think that was a very good, very good.
Can you name
guess.
a third Russian name, Mike? I'm just curious.
Vladimir. That's it.
That's a good
Yuri,
one, though.
Vladimir, and Boris. That's all they got over there.
All right.
That's
All right.
at least half the country.
Yeah.
A burgeoning romance began, and the cosmonaut soon professed his love for the woman.
Oh.
The couple agreed to get married when the cosmonaut returned to Earth. There was just one catch. The cosmonaut said he was stuck on the International Space Station because he could not afford a return ticket on a rocket going back to Earth.
That's my hero.
Yeah, this is good.
The woman is your hero?
No,
this guy.
This guy. Sorry,
stuck.
it shouldn't be. You shouldn't be.
Listen, I'm stuck here. Please send some nudes.
It's so boring.
I'm never going to get out of here. It's so boring. You're the only thing that gets me through. Just please send some nudes.
The woman sent 4.4 million yen, or about $30,000 over 5 payments between August 19th and September 5th before she finally got suspicious of his demands for money and reported him to the police. She said she was convinced his stories were true because the space photos on his Instagram account, along with his knowledge of space agencies. But the International Space Station doesn't actually work like an airport, and the agencies like NASA spend about $50 million sending people into space.
Oh man, I know about space agencies. The fucking Federation, nothing but red tape. Nothing but red tape. You got to grease everyone's palms if you want to do anything. That's why half the time I just go over with the rebellion. I mean, you know, it's not going to be comfortable, but it's going to be easier.
The rebellion. So the Federation is in Star Trek, but the rebellion is in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's all space.
Well, that's the thing is you got to pit one against the other. And then, occasionally sometimes when I'm too tired to drive, I just say, Hal, take the wheel.
From 2001?
I don't know. I mean, no, he's been around since the 70s, I think.
I hope every picture on his Instagram was just stills from Deep Space Nine.
I'd make a Deep Space Nine joke if I knew any of the references.
Chilling with my favorite bartender, Guinan. Make sure you tip her, and he's just like putting like a octagon shaped coin into a weirdly shaped face.
So I don't think I need to say this, but the man was definitely not a cosmonaut. Meanwhile,
What?
I know, shocking.
He was Russian,
But
though. I'm
meanwhile, Japanese police say they are still investigating the crime.
So how much did she give? 4 million yen?
4.4 million yen, or about $30,000.
30,000.
That's about right for a space flight.
Yeah. Could you send a couple nudes to get me, just to get us there? I'll get dropped off at your prefecture.
I mean, she's 65 years old.
There's something for everybody.
Oh yeah, that's true. I'm not shaming her for if she did say good
And
for
the
her.
thing is, if she spent any time in space, then the time shit, it just works different up there.
That's true. You do age more slowly in
You
space.
age slowly or quicker. I don't know.
It's a profound misunderstanding of.
I've read the Forever War. I know what happens. There's a bunch of shit. You fly back and everybody's older or whatever. And I don't know.
What is the Forever War?
Book about
Halderman or something?
Yeah, it's just a sci-fi book about fighting wars in space and how long it takes to get from A to B and you get back and everything's all different. And
Oh, we did a story about that guy. I remember.
I thought that was the steel something rat, right? What's the?
No, the stainless steel rat is Harry Harrison.
It's the same guy, right?
Oh no,
That's the same guy.
I'm related to that guy.
You're related to Harry Harrison.
You're not related to everybody with the same last name. You don't. That's
Harry
not
Harrison,
the way that works.
George Harrison.
I'm
Harrison
related to Indiana Jones.
We all have the same mom.
I'm related to Han Solo.
The Forever War is by Joe Haldeman.
It's a good. I do recommend that book. It's pretty fun. And because there's a bunch of banging old Japanese ladies in it. That's why it relates to this story.
It's good reporting.
But when he's writing about it, he talks about I think his pixelated dick went into her pixelated pussy.
Oh no. Mike is making a reference to Japanese pornography.
But with enough money, apparently, you can have somebody unscramble that.
Yeah, I know.
From
a
space.
short jail term.
That's how I spent. Why I spent 4 million yen.
That's the $30,000 was to unscramble porn in space.
Well, I hope they catch this. If this guy isn't in outer space, that's a real dick move.
Well, they talked about that, and that most astronauts don't really, or cosmonauts for that matter, don't really have enough time to be on Instagram for very long.
Why? Oh, I'm too busy fucking doing floating flips and shit.
Right.
Too busy. What do you do? There's nothing to do once you're up there.
I bet they all help themselves out at least once.
They help each other out.
See
Yeah,
what that's like.
Hey, Sally Ride, live up to your last name.
Oh,
Ouch.
What?
Oh, that's an American hero, sir.
I've said worse things than that.
that is over the line.
Is she still alive? She's okay, right?
No, she died fairly recently, last couple of years.
Right.
But on planet Earth.
Like I explained in the story, once they send you up there, they can't leave you up there.
Oh, so it's like round trip only. You have to get the return ticket. That's a scam.
Yeah, she died in 2012, so she died a while ago. But yeah, there are some Russian missions where they seemingly sent some people up with not a lot of plans to get them back, and then they died in space.
Was Sally Ride's life cut short by the time she spent in space?
That's a question. That's what you still need to figure out.
Mm-hmm.
No, Buzz Aldrin's like 1,000 years old, and he's still punching dudes in the face.
They seem to be very healthy and very. She did die kind of young. She died around 61.
Yeah.
From what?
Oh.
Syphilis.
I can't. I have no idea. Oh wait, death.
Space syphilis.
17-month battle with pancreatic cancer. Ooh.
Oh, that sucks.
Okay, well maybe I shouldn't have made that joke.
Yeah.
Good job, Michael.
I take it back. I take it back.
I still remember what she said when she was launched into space for the first time.
What did she say?
She made reference to a theme park and said, "This is an e-ticket ride," I believe. Is what she said.
That you used to have. So there used to be different levels of VIP tickets at Disney World. That's what that. The e-ticket was the one that you got to the front of the line.
I thought it was just for action rides were the e-tickets. Like Space Mountain was an e-ticket ride.
Just what kind of rides?
Like the action rides, like the exciting rides, like
maybe
like both Flume 1 and Flume 2 at Six Flags would be an e-ticket.
Yeah.
Whereas The
Casa Magneta is just a
probably
regular ticket.
a D ticket. Yeah.
Yeah.
Still pretty good though. That orange when it rolls uphill freaks me out every time.
Glad we could describe rides no one listening has ever heard of.
Well, Casa Magneta is a house that is apparently built on a number of ley lines at Six Flags. And so when you go in there, the rules of physics and gravity don't apply to it. And you can tell that there's some sort of, otherworldly energy involved in there. And, inevitably there's a tour guide that takes you through there. There's a petrified orange and it rolls uphill. It's horribly frightening.
You're talking about one of those mystery spots?
It's a mystery.
It's a mystery. Yeah. It is at Six Flags, which, it's also a mystery where you can get a pink thing in this day and age.
Mm-hmm.
Glad we could make a reference to something from 5 episodes ago that nobody had ever heard of 5 episodes ago.
There is somebody who was just so excited.
Yeah.
Now salivating. They're driving in their truck and all of a sudden
they're so good.
I can't stop. I gotta have one.
Yeah.
Do you think they sell them at the state fair? Have you guys been to the state fair anytime recently?
I haven't been to the state fair.
No, not in like 10 years.
I would go, but I probably want to just meet a pig and look at what I got here. I got a pig here for you. Pig.
Listeners, you're in for a treat. You're in for
I think there's a dog.
Oh, man.
You took the dog?
This is Happy. She's a Boston Terrier.
It's a different dog. Okay, I'm sorry.
She sounds like a pig.
She got crazy eyes.
She does have crazy eyes because she's crazy.
Our next story comes to us from Yorkshire Live.
Oh.
That's where they make the terriers.
And I'm just going to say, I don't know how this story is going to go, but this was one of my favorite stories to read ever.
Oh, cool.
Mine? The Bible.
It's almost that good. We'll see. We'll let you compare at the end.
Man's heavenly creation all the way till his brutal demise. From start to finish, alpha to omega.
For weeks now, a man in Yorkshire, England has been tormented because late into the night, someone is opening the mail slot in his front door and shouting, "Porridge!"
Who is this hero that's doing this?
The man took to social media to say he is at his wit's end and that he is pleading for the porridge whisperer to stop. Sometimes it's not just porridge that gets shouted. He wrote on social media that, quote, "Sometimes it's porridge time, Papa Bear." Or once it was... or once it was, "Eat it before it goes cold, Papa."
Is a good person.
This is I think, there's been times where we've maligned the English a little bit, but I think somebody over there just won back a shit ton of points.
They've done the hard work. Good for them. It's porridge time, Papa Bear.
Eat it before it goes cold, Papa. The man wrote that no porridge or food of any kind has been left behind, but he nevertheless begged the perpetrator, quote, "If this is you, grow up."
Oh, you have just guaranteed it's going to happen a lot more times.
Yeah, you just basically said, "I will give you more money if you continue to do this."
Right. That is. Yeah, always tell someone who knows they're acting childishly that they should stop acting childishly.
Because it's childish.
Yes, because you're doing the thing that you intend to do. Stop. Yeah. No, this is great. This is great fun.
And you are getting the results. You're doing a thing that could very well possibly leave me with no idea if it matters or if anybody cares. But you are affirming that you are, not only is it working, you are getting even better than the results that you wanted because they're taking to the general public to tell everyone.
And you're quoting me while you do it. That funny thing I yelled about Papa Bear is making it.
It's porridge time, Papa Bear.
Eat it before it goes cold, Papa.
Does this guy have any the quote unquote victim? Do they have any do they have any connection to Porridge? Do they have any like is there any idea who this might possibly be?
No, there's no idea. And I mean, I'm sure, as we know from storybooks, all English people eat porridge, but I don't think he is known for his porridge in any kind of way or for the way he eats it.
Man, I think about stuff like this in that there's a couple people who have slighted me medium ways.
Okay.
Like years ago, who I've never seen again. Like
Are you
people
talking about us?
No, you're people that I'm around all the time. So, or at least in contact with all the time. These are people. These are minor slights that like really pissed me off at the time. One, there's a promoter in another town who kind of fucked us over in a just kind of a dicky way.
Yeah. And
I often think about how like it's, the type of revenge that I need to get on him is not like, there's no like violence and it doesn't even need to be monetary. But I do dream of like something like this and it's so far away from the fact, like it's years and years away from it. I often kind of daydream about what it would be like to get revenge in a way like that. Like that would be it would be the best thing in the world. Like I hope to God that this is some guy who was just a real fucking dick to some bartender. In a very just kind of memorable way. And then this is paying off 4 to 5 years after the fact,
Right.
Okay.
It would be, or some guy, this guy who lives at this place wrote a bad review of a place that sells porridge on Yelp 8 years ago and has no recollection of it. Like there was people who have given me a bad Yelp review back when I worked at bars, and I would love to track them down and do something like this. I would spend time to do that. Like it would be, it just would be like an evening out of the universe, I think.
Well, you're not causing any non-porridge related harm.
I don't want. They're not people. These are no people that I want to hurt. I don't want to hurt them.
The damage is nothing.
It's
weird
distress.
Chaos damage. Yeah,
mild distress.
Wait, so how many die sixes of chaos damage would that be?
I don't know because I feel like I definitely have a bonus of plus 12 chaos damage, I think.
Wow.
I like to think that I have like some chaos damage bonus.
Yeah.
Well, that's a secondary power of the amulet, right?
I mean, it is a byproduct for sure. It is. It does raise those stats.
It couldn't work if it didn't have some sort of chaos.
It does have a chaos buff, for sure.
What would you yell in their house? Would it be porridge themed or would it be something?
I would want to keep it not even related directly to the incident, Okay. I don't know. Like, so I don't know. I'm trying to think. Like, some of you gave me a bad Yelp review and said like I was I was a dick to them and acted weird when they asked to sample 11 IPAs or whatever before they got their drink. And I would like to just go over there and just like leave a pair. No, soiled underwear is too much. I'm trying to think of what I would want to leave there.
Yeah, that would be some damaging.
Just every day they wake up for months, and there's just a drawing of a penis, like a childlike drawing of a penis on a piece of paper. That's just like I lick a gummy bear on both sides and stick it onto their door with a gummy bear, and then it says. Write something and it'll just be pointing at the tip and say, the moldy end is you. And just the same, but it's the same thing every day. And they're just like, why the gummy bear? Why is the dick moldy? Why is it, what is happening?
Right.
And then like one day in the middle it goes like it would just point to the scrotum and say, shaved bald today.
It has a threatening feel to it. Without being threatening at all,
but it doesn't. Yeah, you take that to the cops, and they're like, there's nothing we can do with this.
Right? Do you want us to process this as evidence? Do we?
Yeah. What do you?
How long?
I mean, do they miss it? Are they vandalizing anything? No. It's literally I like a gummy bear on both sides, and it's always a yellow gummy bear. Yeah, I love the idea. Like it's porridge. I mean, there's kind of honestly, I'm trying to come up with something, but there is literally nothing better than it's porridge time, Papa Bear.
Hey, could you use
so
that
good.
voice as a rambly British man, or that saying, "Porridge time, Papa Bear"?
I do wonder how they're yelling it. I like to think that they're not yelling it in like a scary, like it's porridge time, Papa Bear. I love that. I like the it's porridge time, Papa Bear. And then, you know, something real like, come get your porridge and just run away.
I like it.
I like it too.
I think we've identified one of the few previously identified. This is yet another INS hero.
INS hero, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like the guy who was, what was the guy walking around in the plague mask for a while?
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot. That was like a year ago. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a Brit. I think he was an INS hero.
That might have been in Scotland.
I would love if they were to like catch this guy and then he does get in trouble, but the city just rallies behind him and gives him like a big GoFundMe and he ends up making money off this and just like this kind of sets him up for then he gets a show on the BBC.
And then it becomes a thing for people to see the, again, quote unquote, victim and just openly yell at him that it's porridge time.
Everywhere he goes.
The rest of his life, he just gets yelled to about porridge.
Yeah, he's just like, he's in restaurants and he's just like eating with his family. And then a thing of porridge, like somebody bought you a thing of porridge. Well, fuck it. I'm just gonna take it home and eat it.
So our next story comes to us from Nerdist.com. Oh, and this is, I'm sorry, our next story is an arts and culture story. I don't think we visited the arts and culture corner for a while. So this is kind of exciting.
Welcome back.
Who doesn't like arts or culture? That would be
white
cretins.
Cretin.
For all life within the kingdom of Animalia, every day is a choice where you can wake up and choose violence. But
like Animalia, like fucking
anything that's an animal,
like Akira, like Japanimation.
Akira would be
you're a big
Animalia,
fan.
but I think you're thinking of anime.
No, I think Mike's right. I think it's Animalia.
Animalia. They used to call it Japanimation, but now it's Animalia.
But in the kingdom of plants, this has not been a choice until now. An artist named David Bowen, and I think he's American, but I couldn't quite figure that out, has taken a philodendron and connected sensors that pick up its electrical signals. He then processes these signals using custom software that translates them into joint movements for a robotic arm that's holding a machete. And this is connected to the philodendron's planner. The work, called Plant Machete, then moves the robotic arm and swings the machete according to the plant's electrical signals. Other artists have also tapped into these signals and adapted them to make sounds or even plant-based music. In the past, plants have only been able to attack us via seasonal allergies or mild itchiness. But now, thanks to David Bowen, plants can also choose violence.
Well, I would argue that the seasonal allergies and shit is pretty fucking brutal.
I mean, for me, they are.
I understand, but I don't understand the point. Just like,
this is no different than burying a landmine and claiming the dirt has it out for you if you step on that landmine.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
Well, but this he did this in the name of, he hasn't, as far as I know,
you better say the name of science, or you get
the name of art.
Oh,
he did get a grant though. He did get a grant from a nonprofit.
God damn it! Why don't we have grants? We're doing something way.
He got a grant.
We're doing something way cooler than him.
We've never applied for a grant, so
Well, we should apply for all the grants.
We can write for grants. Let's get some.
Well, get out there. Start writing.
Not me.
How do you write for a grant?
I don't know. You just you say you got an idea.
I got an idea. We give quality information to the entire world, not just America, the entire world. We cover the entire planet, and we do it with charm and panache and no spin.
We've covered everything from Yorkshire porridge to Japanimation in this one episode.
Japanimation, yeah.
I'm so tickled. No, this is like the fish in the aquarium. It is.
Yeah.
it's a
some random
arbitrary thing, right? And they're claiming that there's some sort of choice involved with what the plant's doing.
No, he doesn't claim there's any choice. It's just based on the electrical signals within the plant. And so it's randomly moving. He doesn't.
So it's like
not even random, but it's just based on the biorhythms within the plant.
A device to kill 1970s James Bond is what this sounds like.
Ooh, I would watch
The
that movie.
philodendron wants you dead, Mr. Bond.
Dr. Pussy Willow.
Yeah. I just don't believe that an artist knows how to figure out how to hook up plant electrodes to a machete. I don't believe it.
You know, like there were all kinds of experiments in the 70s and early 80s about that where they hooked up a lie detector to plants and they got responses which they interpreted as like, oh, plants are doing all this stuff, and that probably was not those things. It was just the little electrical impulses, but you can detect them, and we've been able to do that for a very long time.
I don't believe that plants have electrical impulses.
Well, how do you think the cells communicate and move water?
Oh, you're talking about like a Christmas tree because there's lights in it?
Yeah. I mean, it's autonomous. It's not like there's no conscious thought behind it. It's just, it's how a plant sends nutrients to a certain part of itself, or it tells its leaves to react in a way to preserve its life.
Yeah. Are they
plants can't commit
though?
Suicide? That's got to be like the ultimate test of.
You should see some of the plants that I've tried to make. Are those electrical signals? Wouldn't they be static, or do they like change if somebody's yanking or rips off a leaf or something like that? I guess.
Yeah, they would definitely change for something like that, or even just, you know, as like part of the plant gets like thirsty and starts to dry out, it'll like send some signals going, hey, send some water up here. And that's just kind of the way organisms work. Like we have all kinds of electrical signals in our body that we're not really conscious of, that they're just, it's just like maintenance.
I have complete 100% control over the electrical signals in my body.
Can you control other electrical impulses around you?
No, just one's my body. Every reaction and bodily function is a product of conscious thought.
We don't want to know about your bodily functions.
I'm digesting food right now. It's difficult to talk to you while I'm digesting food.
Wow.
Well, we've talked about mini brains several times. If mini brains aren't alive, then there's no way that a stupid plant is.
But I think
plant.
plants I think that they're all alive. It's just they're not.
No, they're not even alive.
A new thing about mini brains came up.
You heard a new thing. Oh, no, we covered that already. So
some competitor mentioned mini brains recently.
They play Pong, but we covered that like a year ago.
I think it was something about fighting. It's about fighting Raphael, I believe.
Do we talk more about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles than
way
anything
more
else?
Than we should.
Like in a weird way.
Let me ask you guys this. I mean, obviously, ACAB, all cops are bastards. Does that count for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? Do they count as cops?
No, they're vigilantes.
They're like vigilantes.
So there's no due process in what they do.
Oh yeah, it is summary judgment.
Yeah.
Each individual turtle is in their own mind equipped to be judge, jury, and executioner.
Right.
Judge, Judy, and executioner.
That's right. Many people would find them to be the villains. All the Foot Clan, it was just an after-school program for troubled youth.
It would be funny if all these right-wing cops started trading out their Punisher skulls for Ninja Turtle faces.
But real cartoonish looking ones, like real rounded.
Like, just Leonardo's eating a piece of pizza. Michelangelo eating a piece of pizza. Cowabunga.
Wow.
Was he the only one who said cowabunga? Or do they all say cowabunga?
I feel like it was mostly on him.
Where did cowabunga originate? Was that Bart Simpson first, or?
I think it was definitely Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and then Bart. But I mean, it goes before that.
I feel like I'd heard cowabunga pre-Simpsons. I feel
like that seems like a 60s surfer thing.
See, I think. What do you think? It's a surfer thing?
Look north to West Bloomfield, Michigan, and Eddie Keene for the definitive answer. The 79-year-old lounge pianist and composer coined cowabunga in 1949 while working as head writer for the Howdy Doody Show. Only he spells it with a K. Actually, he spelled it cowabunga.
It's Howdy Doody time.
Howdy Doody is like a weird one in that, like, we all know who Howdy Doody is. We know the phrase "It's Howdy Doody time." Never seen it once.
No.
Never ever once seen it.
I know what Howdy Doody looks like, but I, no desire.
Isn't that where the peanut gallery comes from?
Maybe we could get
Referencing
on
something as being
Mike's,
from the peanut gallery.
with Mike's section instead of looking up word origins.
I don't know. I think people. Let's do one more. I think people want to know.
Okay, ask the listener right now. Have you ever heard of Howdy Doody? And and it's the thing. Like, I'm sure you've heard someone say, "Look at this Howdy Doody looking motherfucker." I don't remember what that's from.
So during the vaudeville era, the peanut gallery were the cheapest seats in the theater, and therefore the rowdiest, and they were often known to heckle the performers. And the term owes its origin to the United States segregated South as a synonym with the black seats or upper balcony, mostly reserved for black people. Way to go, Brian. I hope you're proud of yourself.
Now I know, and I'm armed with knowledge, and I can't say something anymore. So,
well, I mean, that's a good thing. Of like, I mean, I never knew that about the peanut gallery.
I didn't know that.
No, yeah, it was interesting for sure.
I didn't. Now we all learned something. That's the thing here. That's the whole point of the International News Service, is learning and selling vitamin pills for the alpha brain monkey mindset.
That's right.
Which I don't think we brought that up, but are any of you feeling like you can't maintain an erection for more than 4 hours?
Well, despite my discussing my priapism earlier in the episode. Maybe I took way too much. Maybe
that
that's
was
the problem.
6 hours. 6 hours is too much. 4 hours is the exact amount of time.
Oh, I see.
That you need to take care of all the business in any bathhouse you might go to. Making
connections.
Well, I mean, I don't know, but it is a weird thing, though. I would like to know from the listeners, Howdy Doody. I've never seen him. Why do we know who he is? Why should we know who he is? It's not like I remember asking who is it to my dad, and my dad like going, "Oh, he's this puppet that would come out," and I used to watch him when I was a kid. But he wasn't like, my dad was never like talking to me about Howdy Doody.
Yeah, I can hear the song in my head.
Yeah, and I'm very familiar with seeing any redhead person with freckles and somebody saying, "Look at this Howdy Doody looking motherfucker." And I don't know why I know that either.
Well, the peanut gallery did exist in Howdy Doody. That's what Buffalo Bob referred to the kids, is all seated in the peanut gallery.
Yeah, I think that the origin of that term by then had,
been obscured. It had been around for 80 years, apparently, when that was
turned into just like the cheap seats.
Yeah. Or the rowdy part, the people who were heckling the performers. Because no more comments from the peanut gallery.
I mean, we'd be in the peanut gallery more than likely.
I'd be side stage getting high with the performers.
You've reached a level of
passing around a big blunt,
fame and success that I'm knowing
I would help, and I'd be helping the other performers out, and they'd be helping me out.
There's a lot of that happens. I hear.
Yeah. So, Mike, are you ready to move on to your segment?
Sure, I am.
Your latest road story.
Well, on this, this story is going to be called Caralting, because I'm traveling around this great big old country, going from town to town, learning things about each place. And ladies and gentlemen, I just came to a little town I like to call Hot Springs, Arkansas. Everyone else likes to call it Hot Springs too, because that's its name. Hot Springs is actually pretty cool. I normally avoid a lot of towns in the South. What with the me looking like a weak Willie, as they call me. Hey, weak Willie. Throw a roundhouse kick at him. And I go, okay, well, maybe we'll let you go this time. No, but you always consider the South a little bit of a backwards place. But Hot Springs, Arkansas is actually pretty dang cool, and actually has quite a bit of history. Usually a lot of the history in the South starts and stops with this is where we had a hate crime that one time.
There's a lot of that.
They're probably, you know what, actually, but Hot Springs kind of the Las Vegas of the South, or it was for a long time. I don't know that it is anymore. Now it's kind of more of a historical place. But so I went to the Mom Museum, and I'm a big fan of gangsters and gangsterism. A lot of gang members have asked me to join their their gang, to join their clique. They've asked me to, help them learn gang strategy, how to gang fight. And definitely how to dance leading up to a gang fight, how to do the real, when you're a jet, when you're a crip, you're a crip. But I've always declined, but I've learned a lot about gangs and gangsterism. And so here's the deal. In the olden days, Hot Springs, Arkansas was the gang. It was like a gang neutral zone where all the gangs from New York City, Chicago to even some people from Los Angeles and stuff were all coming here. And it was because of the bathhouses, which are it's flowing water directly from up in the hills, these actual hot springs, and they're really hot. I stuck my hand in one too, and my dick, and they're really
just those two body parts.
Then they were, like Brian said before, they were known to be these helpful tonic waters and stuff like that. Okay. For instance, Alfonso Capone used to spend a lot of time here because he was horribly afraid of needles. And he thought that they would help with his crippling case of syphilis. Died of syphilis.
Right.
Yeah, not knowing anybody in the last year of his death. He just couldn't remember who anybody was. In fact, gangster Alvin Creepy Carpus said that he remembers him getting taken out of Alcatraz a year early because they just let him out because he was so goddamn fucking sick and crazy. And he said, I remember standing out there and walking by him and seeing him and just seeing a little bit of drool coming out of his mouth because he was so goddamn shitbird crazy. But I'm sure you guys know Al Capone. You probably know Lucky Luciano, Bugsy Siegel, Meyer Lansky. These are all names you've heard of, but I didn't know until I came here. The baddest motherfucker of all these guys was a dude. And let me ask you if you've heard of him. Owney Madden. Madden.
How do you spell Owney?
O-W-N-E-Y Madden.
O-W-N-E-Y.
This guy was fucking. I'm obsessed with, and I don't part of me is I wish I maybe will come back and do more about him because I'm I'm very obsessed with him now, and I only heard about him yesterday. He, of course, Irish gangster, bad as fuck. Shout out to the Irish. He was born in 1891, and he was born in Ireland. His family's Irish, but then he moved to the UK until he was 11, and then came over to America and was in New York City for a while. And he was just immediately a bad motherfucker. Had killed a number of people when he had a thick British accent. Killed a number of people, British Irish, because his parents were Irish. He's British, so that kind of an accent. And he joins. He's killed a couple people by the time he's 16. He joins a club called this is how tough is this? The Gopher Gang.
Oh man!
So
there's pictures of the Gopher Gang too, and they're all they all look like newsies, sitting there. Hey, we're the Gopher Gang. Come on, hey.
So they're not based on Gopher from The Love Boat.
Gopher's based on them.
Oh, wow.
Gopher's based on them.
Sure.
They could never get laid. They tried constantly, but they could never get laid. But no, so he's in this group called and immediately, at a really young age, when he's 16 or 17, they make him the leader, and they're a huge gang. And their things are one of the first murders he did. A rival, a guy was fucking asked out his girlfriend, so he gets on a trolley and follows this guy way down into Harlem and finds him and just watches him for a while. Then that guy goes to get on a trolley. He just gets up and just shoots him in front of everybody a couple times in the head.
Oh, wow.
And people are really scared of him, even though he's 16, 17 years old. So he's going on and he's making a bigger name for himself. And he gets into it. There's a gang, the gang called the Hudson Dusters. And
that's a good name.
That's a pretty good name. And at first I thought well, that's kind of a cute name. But the reason why they call the Hudson Dusters is because their gang was located near the Hudson Bay. And then the Dusters that's because they were all fucking hopped up on cocaine. They were known to be the most cocained out gang in New York City at the time. So he goes, and there's a dude that he's trying to get there. And the way he gets him is he calls the dude. They're we got to do a truce, right? See? And he does a truce. And the he calls a guy and just keeps the guy on the phone while he has some of his dudes come in and just kill him.
Oh, wow.
And while he's on the phone, just shoots him up and like, here's the guy get killed on the phone. It's like, and puts the phone down.
Did he say goodbye or did he just go,
goodbye? I see you when I see you. I see you when I see you. I don't know. I can't do his accent versus the accent of that time. So, but in 1915, he goes to prison for killing a guy named Little Patsy Doyle. They had like a 3-year fight with him, and he's in jail for like 7 years. And Sing Sing. And when he gets out, though, he's like, fuck this. That was shitty. Like that being in jail really sucked. And I'm not going to go straight, but I got to figure out how not to be a wild man, because he was just, killing people in front of people and all kinds of shit like that. So he gets out and he's kind of like trying to put his shit together, and he gets out and he has a couple of like kind of sketchy jobs where he's just like, at one point kind of a, what do you call it? Like a not a loan shark, but an enforcer, just kind of going on and but then he finds a dude, leg breaker type guy. So then he goes and by this time, Gopher Gang's pretty much broken up after 7 years because he wasn't there running it. And two, the other thing is Prohibition has started. So he's like, aha, there's some money to be made in here. So he gets into the Prohibition game and really just kind of takes off like really creating this big Irish syndicate. And one of his main things, and he was apparently a really charming guy, was like, the only way to not go to jail and do stuff is to get in bed with the politicians, get in bed with the police. So he's like a guy that starts encouraging like, he's like, I'm Irish, all these cops are Irish, and just making connections with all these people and kind of setting himself up in a place where is less likely, where he's able to pay off all these people. And at that time, like the Italians, the Jewish people, the black people, all their gangs were kind of like at that time kind of settled away from the more political aspects of like bootlegging and stuff. They were more like street crime, while the Irish was kind of like leaning more on that. In fact, he gets in bed with a really big Irish bootlegger, a guy named Joe Kennedy. And Joe Kennedy later on goes on to have a couple kids that get murdered by assassins, JFK and RFK. And so things go on, and eventually, like he starts to be kind of famous, and he opens up. And he's trying to find legitimate business. He opens up a club called the Cotton Club, that and he's like the main guy behind that, and he's so huge. He gets this driver. He's got this driver for him named George Raft, who's just this like the actor kind of guy. Yeah, he sent George Raft is like, I don't know, I'd like to be an actor one day. He sends him off to Hollywood and just like through his connections makes him like a huge gangster Hollywood guy. He's real famous at the college club, at the Cotton Club. People like him, and he's real nice. All these celebrities are always coming in, and Jimmy Cagney's looking for somebody to kind of base his gangster character off of. Completely bases it off him, like just completely. It's all like, man, Owney Madden is like the guy to kind of like where he's like nice and charming, but also can be real deadly all of a sudden. So Cotton Club's getting big, but there's also like a lot of heat kind of coming down on him. He's dating a lady, and he's like, she's a Broadway chick. She's real hot. He's like, she's like, I'd like to do more with my career. So he goes and gets her some work in Hollywood. Her name's Mae West.
Oh, wow. So
things are kind of blowing up around there. But the heat starts to kind of come back on him. He starts to get into like a scuffle with so the Irish gangs have kind of like split apart, and there's a dude who goes on his own named Vincent Mad Dog Cole, he's a guy who's like extorting money from other gangsters. And Madden gets involved of like, I got to get this guy killed. So what he does is goes and gets some chicks to go hang out with him, and kind of sets up like a double date and goes against jail. He doesn't go to jail for that, but there's like a ton of heat on him. So he's like, I got to get out of town. And he's just starting to realize that like the way like Capone and with all these other gangs, like the gang stuff is just getting so big and hot between New York and Chicago that he goes down for his own health anyway. But he also like fudges a thing to like, so he can get out of his parole violation. So like, I'm getting TB, so I got to go for my own health. I got to go down to Hot Springs because that's the only way you can cure it. So he goes down to Hot Springs, and ostensibly becomes just the master godfather, in that like he takes over the police force there, makes friends with everyone here in town, and just turns this into this gambling, like reverses laws to make gambling legal for a long time. And it wasn't legal, but he had everyone in his pocket, so nobody would even try to do anything about the gambling laws, and turns Hot Springs into this like just badass place where everybody wanted to go to. So it was neutral territories for all the other gangs, and they would come down here. And supposedly, like Capone and Lucky Luciano and Bugsy Siegel, they were all scared shitless of getting on Owney Madden's bad side. Apparently, he was like a really sweet guy, but if you got on his bad side, like there's just like body after body of buried people that were just kind of disappeared. But like in town, from what I've seen, because I went on a bunch of little tours and stuff like that, and I've just been reading stuff, like everybody here loved him. Like he was just great with everybody. At some point, Bugsy Siegel comes down and checks it out and is like, this is like the best fucking place ever. I wish we could do this out west. And apparently Las Vegas is completely designed after Hot Spring, as far as like one strip. All the casinos are up and down this whole strip. And like at the end, like, I don't know, I'm sure there's more stuff. Like I said, I only just kind of found out about this dude yesterday, but like in the end, like he dies like in his like 80s or 90s of just natural causes, beloved by the entire city. He married a lady down here, the postmaster generals of the area's daughter, and led this just like incredible life where he just taking care of people. Apparently he had a restaurant, and the deal with the restaurant was, if you can't afford to eat, we will feed you.
Oh wow. And
he just every week would go by and, pay off. They just keep a tab, and he would just go pay the tab. So all these poor people would eat for free at this restaurant, and was really I'm sure he probably used the wrong language, but it apparently was like pretty cool with like, book acts at clubs, because he owned a whole bunch of clubs in town, like book acts that were not segregated. Like he would try and do like not segregated stuff. I'm sure there was, that's not to say that he probably didn't, use a word or two that we don't use. And he's a guy that murdered people. So, but
it was an era.
He got his education on the streets.
It was an era, but it was just a crazy thing to see that like so much of like the way gangsters try to run things was like based off him. That he was, and the other thing too is like he realized early on that notoriety was the worst thing you could have as a gangster. Right. So he was like incredibly like camera shy. Like the handful of photos you'll find of him are mugshots and stuff like that. But he was apparently just huge. Like he was this guy that like Al Capone was like came here to pay his respects to him, and like all these huge leaders of different families would come down here and pay respects to him. And he was just this 5'4" little English guy that was, apparently spoke with a quiet tongue that was just.
Excuse me, he was Irish?
He was born in England. Family was Irish.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. They moved to England like right before he was born. So I think legally he was English, but he was very Irish and hired. His roots and gang guys were all pretty Irish. So when you're in Hot Springs, give a little shout out to Mr. Owney Madden.
Nice.
That's crazy. I had heard a story, or I read a story about James Cagney getting in trouble with the mafia for the way he portrayed characters, and George Raft smoothing it over.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And I read the story as though like I should know why George Raft was the guy who smoothed it over, but apparently he tweren't acting.
Yeah, I mean, he was, they listed him as a truck driver that was good friends with Madden, which, I mean, that goes to imply that he did, more than just truck driving, or at the very least, he was truck driving illegal materials for him, which is pretty cool because, like, most of those, even like noir guys, they were all just like song and dance guys that, they were theater kids who ended up figuring out that they could do something else too.
Right. Their voice got deep.
Yeah. I don't know. Like part of me was like, I was gonna do something else, but I just got really stoked learning about this dude since I've been here. And there's
a story.
Yeah. He's real cool looking too. He looks very English. He's got
Did you learn everything at the museum, or did you do some?
Well, and that's where I first found out about him was the museum, but then kind of just bopping around and then just reading about it and stuff too. There's a pretty good book about him that I have bought but have not been able to read yet.
Now, is his Cotton Club the one and only Cotton Club, or is that a name that got used?
That was the New York one. Yeah, that was the first big one.
Because that gets referenced all the time, right?
That was the one.
His club.
Yeah, and I think they reference him in some TV shows, but he never gets. I don't know. I never remembered who he was. If he was they mention him in I guess that movie, The Cotton Club, and I guess they have his character as something in Boardwalk Empire, but he's not because he just kind of got away with everything. I think most of the stuff that he did, people did for him after the fact. He just built this crazy empire off of bootlegging, and one of the few guys that realized it's way better to not be famous for doing that kind of stuff. Because Al Capone loved getting his picture taken. Al Capone loved being famous.
Yeah, and I've definitely heard of Hot Springs as a mob hotspot or somewhere they would send you to
it's huge, yeah.
Just to wait until things cooled off before you went back to the big city.
Yeah.
But I didn't know, why that was. I've heard that in New Mexico as well.
Yeah.
So there was a huge mob influence in early Hollywood, right?
Yeah.
It sounds like that was.
Yeah, for sure.
There was clearly a connection there. And what was the code that came out? The
Hays Code, yeah.
The Hays Code. Was that in response largely to, because one thing I noticed, stuff that came out before then seemed a lot kind of, it's not crazy or anything, but Mae West was a sex symbol.
Right.
Yeah.
If you were to try to pin Mae West on a timeline of when America was comfortable with Mae West being there was just this kind of a peak of, I don't know if grittier is the right word, but more risque stuff in popular media.
That was before
and then it
the
goes
Hays
away
Code.
for a long time.
Yeah, right. And she was way more.
Is there a name for that era?
She was way. I think it's just pre-code in terms of movies, but she was even more risque on Broadway. And when they brought her to Hollywood, even pre-code, they were just I don't know, you have to tone it down, and to the point where sometimes she would film a movie one way, but in advance she would write it a cleaner script, and then when they would go to cut it, she'd be like, "Well, I already got that worked out."
Yeah, she said of Owney that he was one of the nicest men she ever dated, but also the most vicious, but not to her. They good friends, and the main guy that staked the boxer Max Baer.
Oh yeah.
Max Baer was a really big boxer, and then he had a kid. Max Baer had a kid named Max Baer Jr., who was one of the stars of the Beverly Hillbillies. He was Jethro Bodine.
Oh yeah.
So you can really see, you look at him and go I could see that guy's dad being a boxer, or him being a boxer even.
Well, aren't
that guy dated Madonna?
All those images of the prize fighter image of the silhouette.
Yeah.
I feel when it says Max Baer, a poster of him.
Yeah.
He does kind of look with this dukes up and that weird Queensberry Rules thing, or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Do you think the international listener cares? That's not the right way to say. But do you think so I was thinking earlier, you said RFK and JFK, and you obviously mean Robert F. Kennedy and John F. Kennedy, Kennedy, future president. But do you think it's widely known outside of the U.S. and maybe within the U.S. that Joe Kennedy was a notorious bootlegger? So one of
the things I've heard that before, but I didn't really know that until know that verified until this
World
all
War
that
II, I think, washed a lot of people.
Yeah. I don't think people realize just even how much Joe Kennedy was involved specifically in his children getting into politics, and in financially ensuring that they would advance.
Right.
But I think that he's a really interesting person but also really, really corrupt.
And that thing too of like just that, not to minimize anybody else's ethnic struggles, but for a long time, just that the Irish problem, there was like the Irish problem that was just this thing that Irish people were really like not well thought of and not
Right.
considered like lesser citizens and stuff, and that
Italians
they kind
too.
of and I don't know that anybody made this decision and figured it out, or I'm sure they figured it out down the line, but like the idea of being like, well, if we're controlling all the civil if we're all getting jobs as civil servants, and then we all kind of band together, then apparently like the idea of having like an Irish president 20 years beforehand was insane.
Right.
Yeah.
A Catholic.
Yeah.
A freaking papist.
You know who also did that? The Scientologists. That's how they got tax-free status.
I can't wait till we get our first Scientologist president.
Well, we all get, instead of a tax rebate, we'll all get certain levels of clearings.
Yeah, we have free thetans.
That's
free
right.
thetan removal.
You just have to stand in front of a TV for a certain amount of time.
It is.
Do they go to Kolob, or is that where Mormons go?
That's where Mormons go, and that
Okay.
was like the weird thing of like anytime. I mean, I guess it's a base that you don't want to, because there's enough of them, but it is like a crazy thing that like, I mean, yeah, at the end of the day, like the whole like the amazing science fiction religion joke I made earlier, but like. At the end of the day, like, there's
a serious commentary you made earlier.
There's a majority of Americans who are, Christian and whatnot. And like, while it is while Mormonism really on its own is absolutely no more silly than that, we're all really used to the Christian kind of setup of how things are. And like, man, compared to that, some of that Mormon shit is some real fucking psychedelic sci-fi. Like, it gets real fucking nutty. And I was always so surprised that like nobody running against Mitt Romney ever pulled that out. That nobody ever like mentioned like how, because if there was a Scientologist candidate, that you would bring that up, or if somebody was, somebody's running on like some sort of like, even like the atheist party, or not, I don't know, if somebody's running as a declared atheist or a whatever, just anything not Christian, I think you're going to get shit for it, Christian or Catholic or whatever. But like, I don't know. It's always so crazy to me that somebody would go like, this guy puts on a robe to fuck, all that kind of stuff. Which I don't know. Maybe you don't bring that up in the debate. I mean, Trump would have said it.
Oh, right. Yeah.
This guy fucks through a hole. He puts his dick through a hole. There are people watching. It's not a good Trump, but whatever.
It's not
We
terrible.
don't need it. We don't need a good Trump on this program.
Yeah.
And that's true. There's plenty of those. Well, I mean, I think now the operatives would bring it up for sure. There would be a.
Yeah.
It's too easy. I think Mitt ran before the internet turned into the kind of gross thing that it is now. So
Yeah.
Or social media,
inaccurate.
at least. It was like the early days of social media. Such innocent time. Brian even had a social media page back then.
Yeah.
What a weird world that would have been.
Back on Friendster.
Well, I did want to bring up one thing since we were
Okay.
talking about Kennedy. I thought this is something you guys hadn't heard before, but did you know that John F. Kennedy had a secretary whose last name was Lincoln?
What?
And Lincoln had a secretary whose last name was Kennedy?
Yeah, I think we knew that.
Did you know? Yeah, seriously. Seriously.
What?
Yes.
We
That's
definitely
insane.
he's
You know what's
definitely
crazy
talked
about that?
before.
No, what's crazy about that is they both got shot and killed by the shooting.
Wow.
Yes. Yes.
Well, that was pretty profound.
Yes. Two things connecting them both.
I'll give you a piece of trivia too, actually. So you said that, what was his name? Owney
Madden.
Owney Madden got his girlfriend Mae West her career, but did you know that when you say Mae West, we say like quote a famous Mae West line, everybody's going to say, "Come up and see me sometime," right?
Yeah.
The person she was saying that to, she got him his first big role, and that man was Cary Grant. So in a way, Owney Madden. We have Owney Madden to thank also for the career of Cary Grant.
Or the casting agent who put him in that role.
No, she wanted him in that role specifically.
Did she have sex with him, you think?
Wouldn't you?
Come up and see me sometime. Cary Grant liked acid. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is true. Big fan.
Did you really?
So that wraps up another week of the International News Service. Find us across social media at International News Pod. Email us at internationalnewspod@gmail.com. Every morning when you wake up, if you're not choosing violence, then how about choosing INS? Check out the INS merch store at Redbubble and our Patreon. We'll see you next week.
Thank you for listening to the International News Service. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. INS, the news you need.